Strongbow, get into it any way you can. Qantas, now celebrating their 75th anniversary. Pizza Hut, for a hot tip, try Pizza Hut's 2 large pizzas for only $15.90. Foster's, it doesn't get any better than this. Queanbeyan Leagues Club, leagues ahead of the rest. These sponsors proudly bring you the 1995 Spring Racing Carnival.
He is nurtured in the Hunter, the Barossa, the Waikato. He is trained on dusty roads, along scenic windswept beaches, and from the busy city stables. He has ploughed our fields and cleared our roads. He has carried our soldiers into war. He has been our servant and our companion. And from Randwick to Ascot, from Flemington to Fanny Bay, he has been our hero. He is Archer, Farlap, Carbine. He's Tulloch and Rising Fast. He is Kingston Town. He's fit and he's full of fire and spirit. He is the most noble and aristocratic of all animals. He is the horse, and this is his moment.
A very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this, our special preview of the 1995 Melbourne Cup. Over the next hour, we'll be talking to some of the personalities involved in the race and hopefully finding you the winner of Tuesday's great event. So wherever you're watching around Australia or New Zealand, sit back, relax, as we go through the facts and figures for the nation's greatest race. And to help me do just that, Jenny Chapman, Roy Higgins and John Letts, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Pete.
Good afternoon, Pete.
Jen, this has got all the ingredients of being one of the best cups of the modern era, I think.
Oh, absolutely. We've got horses from overseas, the Northern Hemisphere horses, Double Trigger, Vintage Crop, of course, who won it 2 years ago, injury last year. You've got the New Zealanders. There's a lot of horses going very well for this cup. They've been primed right up for it. Looks like being a great event. Roy,
we've had some overnight rain in Melbourne. Is that going to alter the state of the track? Is there any concern about it?
Certainly not at this point, Pete. I was just speaking with Leon Corstens, who trains at Fleming. He's got Gossips in the cup, and he was saying he's already been for a walk around the track. Seems differing opinions of how much they've had. I have heard about 50 points of rain, but I think the track could take at least an inch. That's about that much in the old.
Just look at that finger again, right?
That's an inch and a half, Roy.
And Leon was saying if they were to even race on it this afternoon, they would just bruise the top. Very, very little damage from Saturday's racing. And if there's no more rain, the track will be absolutely perfect. In fact, it could probably take half an inch extra to help the track along. Nice finger.
So there you go, there's Roy's measurements. That's an inch and that's half an inch. Let's see what sort of races are going to be. Fast run, slowly run?
Peter, I think it will be a fast run. I think it'll be a very clean race. We've got Stony Bay, Coachwood and also the other horse, Double Take, who likes to get along with a good bit of speed. And I can see it being a very fast run race. But who would have thought 10 years ago we were going to have 3 horses, international horses, to top weight in the Melbourne Cup? You know, it's incredible, isn't it? How far it's really gone internationally in the last 10 years.
It has indeed. Unfortunately, one man who won't be at Flemington with us on Tuesday is Darren Gauci, who had the very unfortunate fall in the first race on the program yesterday. And there he is in the cerise colours at the back of the field, and this was a nasty one.
Ooh. Sure was. He got his foot caught there for a little while too, and the horse just stood on him, and you can see the gouch there in a lot of pain. So it's a shame because he was riding so well, Pete.
He had an operation at Western General Hospital yesterday, and Darren, I know, will be watching today. We do wish him the best and hopefully a speedy recovery for the gouch. Well, Roy Higgins has won 2 Melbourne Cups. Johnny Letts has won 2 Melbourne Cups. Another man who's won 2 Melbourne Cups is Lee Friedman. He knows what it takes to train a cup winner, and we asked him throughout the week just what are the qualities needed to win the big race.
You've got to be confident that they're improving all the time, and that even the last bit of work or the last race that you've done with them improves the horse a little bit more. Well, I think probably 5, but there's plenty of 4. Well, history says 4- and 5-year-olds have the best record. I think if you've got a horse that likes to race forward, I think a nice gate round 6, 7, 8, 9 is probably tremendous, but you've got a horse that gets well back, it's not much use to you. I think the form part's more important than reputation. They've got to be in form at the time and riding well. Goes without saying, they've got to be very relaxed. They've got to be relaxed horses that will settle in the race and won't pull. Because if they pull in the early stages of the race, I've never seen a horse pull hard in the Melbourne Cup and win. Probably a pound.
Well, there's one horse, I don't know whether he's going to need luck or whether his ability will carry him through as we go through the field now, and I'm talking of the top weight and Melbourne Cup favourite Double Trigger. Trained by Mark Johnston, ridden by Jason Weaver. He's got the good horse's weight of 60.5 kilos, but beautifully drawn in barrier 6, and currently the 9-2 favourite for the Melbourne Cup, and his performances speak for themselves. He won the Ascot Gold Cup, the Goodwood Cup, the Doncaster Cup, virtually the triple crown of staying. 4th in the Prix de Cadran in Paris, and that was his disappointing effort. But 6 starts for 3,200 metres and over, and he's won 5 times. We can talk more about Double Trigger now. We're joined by his trainer, Mark Johnston. Afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon.
Well, you were at the races yesterday. Did you see anything that might trouble you on Tuesday?
To be honest, I'd have thought Nothing Like a Dane was going to be the big danger with that lightweight. All the locals tell me that a 3-year-old can't win the Cup. I hope they're right.
What were your impressions of the racing yesterday? It was a great day of racing, 60,000 people there.
Yeah, tremendous day. I've seen it all before, of course. I was here last year, both on Cup Day and Derby Day. I don't know if your racing's always like that, but it looks pretty spectacular to us.
Well, Mark, Double Trigger, obviously your training methods are a lot different to horses trained here in Australia for the Melbourne Cup. How many gallops have you given him since he's been here?
Just the one, and even that one was over a very short distance. We just went over about 1,000 metres, and the horse would never work less than 1,400 metres at home. But we're trying to keep him fresh, and it's very, very difficult to know what to do. This is not necessarily how we would train the horse at home. We're just a bit of trial and error and try and keep him fresh but fit enough for the Cup.
Mark, Roy Higgins, I had a chat, well, at length actually, with your young jockey Jason Weaver. Very, very impressive to talk to. I know he's had a great association with Double Trigger. Can you give us a bit more about his background back home?
Yeah, I think Jason is the shape of things to come in jockeys back home. Very, very competitive nowadays, and they've got to be able to sell themselves. Jason's the new breed of young jockey who's very good at talking to the press, very good at talking to the owners, comes from the same mould as Frankie Dettori. They've been brought up a bit together through Luca Camani's stable, and Jason was champion apprentice 1993, then came to us in 1994 and rode a classic winner on his first attempt. So he's been an extremely good jockey for us. He went freelance at the beginning of 1995, but returned to our stable about 6 weeks ago, and we will now retain him for the next 2.5 years.
Mark, John Letts, how would you rate this horse alongside Vintage Crop?
No disrespect to Vintage Crop, you know, I really think we've got to respect a horse that's won the Melbourne Cup before. He's an old hand at the game, and we'll fear him on the day for sure. Having said that, at home this summer, there was no real contest. Double Trigger managed to dominate the big staying races. He was 7 lengths or more in front of Vintage Crop in the Ascot Gold Cup. I just hope we can do the same in the Melbourne Cup.
Mark, and I suppose the thing is, how's the horse going to race? Is he going to be up close? Has he got speed? Does he get back, or in the middle?
Well, to some extent we'll be keeping our tactics for the day.
Fair enough.
But to be truthful, we don't really know. You know, there's the big question mark about this horse. Can he go the pace? We don't know how sharp it's going to be out there, and he's not used to being pushed and shoved and having other horses trying to pile in front of him. So Jason's just going to have his wits about him and be ready to change the tactics if things don't go according to plan.
Mark, thanks very much for your time. We wish you good luck on Tuesday. We look forward to seeing you then.
Not at all. Thank you very much indeed.
Double Trigger's trainer Mark Johnston joining us on the Melbourne Cup Preview. Well, another imported horse, but now he's a local, is Jeune, last year's Melbourne Cup winner. Trained by Peter Hayes, Wayne Harris the rider, 59 kilos. Not well off at the gate of barrier 17, but he normally misses the start, or he has been lately. Around about an 8-1 chance. Looking at his recent form, 6th in the Underwood Stakes was a flop, 5th in the Caulfield Stakes, 4th in the Cox Plate was a pretty good effort, and was running on to finish 4th in the McKinnon. One start at 3,200 metres and over for a win in the 94 Melbourne Cup. And his run in the Cox Plate, we can take a look at that now. He's in the blue colours as they come around the home turn. What did you make of this, Roy?
I was disappointed with his run. I thought the surface at Moonee Valley should have suited him, although he does prefer it probably a little bit more jar out of the track. He rode him in a manner that should have suggested he could win the race. He got up on the back of Octagonal on the home turn, as you would have saw there, and he's dropped off and lost two lengths in the run home. He concerns me, June. He's a horse that... everything's got to be right on the day. The pace has got to be right. He doesn't like horses around him. Under the whip, he's inclined to want to lay in. There's too much. He is the best horse in Australia, ability-wise, no doubt at all. But he's got to have so much go right on the day for him to produce it. As it did in the Melbourne Cup last night, it just fell into place perfectly. Will it happen again? I doubt it.
Well, let's go from the 94 Melbourne Cup winner to the 93 Melbourne Cup winner in Vintage Crop. Trained by Dermot Weld, Michael Canaan takes the ride. 59 kilos for Vintage Crop, nice draw in barrier 8, currently quoted around 10 to 1. His recent form, well, his run in the Irish St Leger was a little bit disappointing. He finished in 4th place in the Irish St Leger. But going back before that, the wins apparently were very impressive in the Curragh Cup and also in the 2,800 metre race. He's had 10 starts, 3,200 metres and over, for 5 wins and 1 second. He is a pretty good horse, and I know you're pretty keen about him, John. He looks as good, I think, as he did 2 years ago.
Well, Peter, he's a 9-year-old now, and I do think the horse has got a very good chance in the race. He's proven over the journey, as you say, he's had 9 starts for 5 wins over the ground, and I do think he's a forgotten horse of the Melbourne racing this year, actually. And I do think that he's got a good chance in the race. And it's interesting to note the top 3 horses want a bit of rain-affected ground, and they're going to get it. So it's going to bring the 3 of them all in together. But I do give Vintage Crop a very good chance in the race. Mark Johnson, as he said, the other horse was too good for him in England this year, but it's a different ball game here.
So there you have the big 3, Double Trigger, and also Jeune and Vintage Crop. We'll be taking a look at the rest of the field and chatting to Richard Freedman very shortly. You're watching the Melbourne Cup Preview for 1995.
So is it about form? Is it about fashion? What do you like Melbourne Cup Day?
Well, I think I like the unruly energy of it.
Do you?
That's why I'm backing Double Trigger.
Ah.
That violent, surging beast.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to give too much away. It's between me and you, but Vintage Crop.
Ah.
Very sneaky. Apparently I heard they've been running it cold over in Ireland. Those wacky pranksters. Hey, think they're going to get away with that.
Geez, they tickle us, don't they?
Absolutely. Get onto it.
Thanks, mate.
Just some of the colour and the action that we'll be experiencing at Flemington on Tuesday when they run the Foster's Melbourne Cup. Well, the all-important weather forecast, we've had 80 points of rain at Flemington overnight, and the forecast for Tuesday, there's a big surprise, showers and 18 degrees. So it looks as though we're going to be heading for our 4th wet Melbourne Cup day in a row. Let's hope that the weather forecasters maybe have got it a little bit wrong, but if there are just showers between now and race time, it really won't affect the track too much. Let's go through the field, continue to go through the field, and we look at number 4, the Phantom Chance, trained by John Wheeler and to be ridden by Bob Vance, 57 kilos, barrier number 14, 66 to 1 are his current odds, and they're probably about the right odds because his form just hasn't been what we'd expected of this horse. He won the Cox Plate 2 years ago, but his 12th in the Moonee Valley Cup was just a run, and prior to that 9th in the Caulfield Cup. Not a bad effort in the Metropolitan. No starts at 3,200 metres. I think he faces a big task, Jen.
He has a bit of a task, Pete, that's for sure. Actually, in the Moonee Valley Cup, he was desperately unlucky. I wouldn't say that he could possibly have won that race, but he was unlucky. I think he is paying for his Cox Plate win 2 years ago. 57 kilos, it's a lot of weight for him to have to carry. His form doesn't really warrant that amount of weight.
He was a handicapping certainty almost in the Moonee Valley Cup, and he goes up 4 kilos for the Melbourne Cup, so it's very hard to see the Phantom Chance doing too much. Number 5, It's All in Fun, and this horse was weighted at 55.5 kilos. John Wheeler trains again, and Shane Scrivener's the rider, has drawn the inside alley, which can be a little disadvantage sometimes in the Melbourne Cup if you haven't got an awful lot of speed. 50 to 1 are the odds. And let's take a look at the recent performances. The 2nd in the Caulfield Stakes was a good effort. 12th in the Caulfield Cup had no luck. 7th in the McKinnon yesterday. And 2 starts at 3,200 metres and over for 2/3. Do you give him any chance, Roy?
I think he's struggling. I thought his run when he ran second to Dane Wynn was excellent. but since then I didn't think it was all that much in the Caulfield Cup, and certainly I did look for a big improvement yesterday, because I thought in the yard his coat had come through. He looked good yesterday, but yeah, it's nothing. I don't know. I can't have him myself. It's just the oomph is not there, not for me.
One of the local favourites is number 6, and that is Doremus, the Caulfield Cup winner, trained by Lee Freedman, Damien Oliver the rider, 54.5 kilos, but look at that, the outside gate, barrier number 23, around the 7-1 mark in the current odds, and have a look at his form. Of course, the Caulfield Cup was his last performance, a winner there, and that was after an excellent second in the Turnbull Stakes. But the query, of course, he's yet to start over 3,200 metres. Well, joining us to talk about that and also the barrier draw is Richard Freedman. Richard, good afternoon. Thanks for getting dressed up, mate.
Thanks very much. My Sunday.
He has got a few things against him, hasn't he? Barrier 23 and maybe a query at the 3,200 metres, but he's a quality racehorse.
He is. Barrier 23, that's out in the car park. I mean, it's not the barrier you want to draw. It's pretty devastating for us when he drew that barrier. But he's the sort of horse who will get back in the field and will run on, and probably the barrier's not such a big disadvantage.
All right, well, I'm sure you three want to grill Richard.
He made a choice not to run in the McKinnon or the Crown yesterday, and you went to Sandown to work there along with Quick Ransom. Can you bring us up to date with the work there, Rich?
Yeah, they took Quick Ransom and Doremus out to Sandown early in the morning and worked on the course proper out there. They worked over a mile. They ran a mile, I think, in about 1:44 seconds, which is good, solid work. And according to, I didn't go out, Lee went out, but according to Lee, he thought that Doremus had the wood on Quick Ransom, but that's not unusual.
True, yeah.
Because Quick Ransom is not much of a track worker.
He's a lean, mean customer, isn't he?
Doremus? Yeah, he's very hard to keep weight on, Roy. He's never been a big eater, and he's really blossomed this time, and that's the best he's looked.
Yep.
Here's the Caulfield Cup finish, and the way he went to the line this day, it did look as though the 3,200 metres is not going to be a problem for him.
I'd have to agree with that. He did go to the line probably as well as any horse in the race, including those horses that were back in the field that everyone's raving about their runs. Yeah, Yes Indeed is one. You know, I thought he went to the line as well as him.
The other runner in the race, Storm, were you happy with his run yesterday?
Oh, look, I think on face value, it probably could have been better, his run, but he did get into a bumping duel with Jean for a long part of the race, and Greg said that took the stuffing out of him a little bit, and I think he just proved that he's not a weight-for-age horse. He's never going to be one. He's a handicapper, and it's a handicap on Tuesday.
Has he pulled up well?
Yeah, he's fine. No problems.
Yeah, right. I actually like him in the race, I've got to say, with the weight that he comes in with. Barrier 19's a bit of a problem, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know what we did to cop the draws
Don't have much luck there.
They've really stuck it to us.
The one you're not really concerned about with the draw is Quick Ransom.
Yeah, and he's drawn a nice gate.
OK, we'll be talking more about the Freedman horses very shortly. We'll take a break and be back with you to preview the rest of the Melbourne Cup field in just a moment.
Have a little faith in me, and have a little faith in me, and have a little faith in me.
Well, someone around Australia is going to have a little faith in every one of those 23 runners on Tuesday. We're continuing to look through the field for the 1995 Melbourne Cup, and let's take a look at the facts and figures around number 7, Stony Bay. Gai Waterhouse, the trainer, Darren Beedman, already a Melbourne Cup winning jockey, 54 kilos, barrier number 21, and currently quoted around the 40-1 mark, and this is the reason why. After winning the Craven Plate and running a good third in the Metrop, he finished 7th in the Caulfield Stakes and was inclined to hang that day, and 12th in the Cox Plate. No starts over 3,200 metres. Jen, I think he's going to need to improve.
He's going to definitely need to improve, Pete. He's a horse that can show speed in his races, and I think he's probably going to use up a bit of energy from the barrier he's drawn as well in 21. But he's never been over this distance before, and I think the final stages will see him out.
Number 8 is Bullwinkle, and he's going to attract a lot of attention in the race, principally because Frankie Dettori, one of the world's leading jockeys, will be riding him on a hit-and-run visit. He's in barrier 4 at 33 to 1, and his run in the Moonee Valley Cup was the best of his recent starts, 11th in the quickies prior to that, one start over 3,200 metres for a 5th in the Adelaide Cup. Here's his Moonee Valley Cup performance. Storm won quite easily. What did you make of this performance, Roy?
An honest effort. Storm was beautifully ridden by Greg Hall. He's dashed away. He's left Bullwinkle behind at that particular point. But Bullwinkle does meet him about 4 kilos better. So if you like Storm, he's got to be there with a chance. But I don't think that Moonee Valley Cup form is going to stand up in the Melbourne Cup. But it'll be great to see Frankie Dettori riding here because he's a very, very good young rider. Yes, arguably the greatest jockey in the world at the moment. Number 9 is Count Chivas, and this horse is to be ridden by Rodney Griffiths. 53 kilos is the weight, and barrier number 7. Odds of round about 10 to 1, and his recent performances, 4th in the Naturalism, 7th in the Turnbull Stakes, and everyone was riding him off then, and then he came out and ran 2nd in the Caulfield Cup, but yet to start over 3,200 metres. Johnny Letts?
Well, looking at his form, Peter, up until his last run, it was pretty ordinary. But his run in Adelaide in the South Australian Derby was a fantastic run, and he beat 2 horses that would have... Well, one is going to be competitive, is Storm, and the other horse was Scrupulous, who won the Adelaide Cup a couple of days later. So if you give Storm a chance, you must give this horse a chance. And I don't know, I think the trainer went back to New Zealand, didn't he, Roy? And they changed the training tactics on him.
After his first up run here, which was sensational, he then dropped off. Something went wrong. He lost a lot of weight, but the other day looked good.
Was a very good run.
He's on the up, this horse. Don't worry about that.
I remember seeing him in the South Australian Derby, and it was an exceptional run.
Yeah, he's a good horse, this guy.
The Sydney Cup winner is number 10, and that is Darcher, trained by John Maher at Flemington, ridden by Brett Preble, one of our up-and-coming stars in the jockey ranks. 53 kilos, not well drawn in 15, and he's currently quoted at around 50 to 1. His recent effort, building up, he's a stayer, I suppose he's getting closer. 4 starts at 3,200 metres though, and he's won 2 of them. Do you give him a chance, Jen?
I actually gave him a rough place chance in the race, Pete, because he's a written guarantee to get this distance, the 3,200. He's done it before, Sydney Cup, Duke of Norfolk as well. So he's one of those horses you know will be still there at the end of the race. And, yeah, maybe a rough place chance at odds. Number 11 is Desert Chill, another horse proven at the 3,200 metres. Chris Muntz will take the ride, and he's got a very nice draw in barrier number 3. He's a 25 to 1 chance, probably inclined to be at the right odds, I would suggest, after his recent performances. You can see there are 3 lasts out of the last 4. 3rd in the Craven Plate was quite a good effort, but of course he has proven at the journey, as I mentioned. Roy, the winner of the Brisbane Cup.
Hard to have on recent form, and that's all we can go on at this particular point. I thought his runs in the Crown, in the Waterford Crystal, and yesterday in the Crown Quarry, well below standard. And you know, we're talking about some 48 hours before the Melbourne Cup. Not good.
Last year, Double Take ran 4th in the Melbourne Cup at 100 to 1. And he goes into the race this year with Royce Dowling, the trainer, and John Didham as the jockey. 52 kilos, barrier number 12, 40 to 1 chance, and is not without a hope at big odds. His performances in the Turnbull Quickies and Caulfield Cup looked disappointing on paper, but then he came out and led all the way in the Werribee Cup. It was a pretty smart ride. And here it is now. He's in front as they come around the turn. That's Coachwood behind him in the white cap and pulling to the outside out Pompey. So the form line through Coachwood, Johnny, reads quite well here.
The form line reads very well, Peter, but it just worries me with some of these horses like Coachwood's a leader, Stony Bay's a leader, and now Double Take's a leader, and if they're not going to get an easy run, whichever horse leads in the Melbourne Cup on Tuesday is not going to get an easy run in front. He's going to have pressure on him a fair bit of the way, I reckon.
They're the sort of horses, John, that other jockeys like to have in the race because you know it's going to be a truly run race.
Yeah, Roy, and this is one question I'd like to ask you. The barrier draws, you're putting a lot of emphasis on the barrier draws, but with the speed in the race, I don't think the barrier draw is going to be that important in the Melbourne Cup this year.
Oh, still give me the barrier one, the wonderful Melbourne bike race.
Well, hey, you wouldn't get on a bike.
I bet you.
How would you be on a bike?
I bet you Damien Oliver. Damien Oliver would cop barrier one on Doremus, I'll tell you that.
Well, he's got one.
Irrespective of how fast they're going.
OK, you two just continue that conversation in the break that we're going to take now. We're halfway through the field for the Melbourne Cup. Back with more very shortly.
Now, just between you and me, you'd be hoping that hats are big this year, wouldn't you?
And I think I'm quite in good company here. I think I see a lot of big hats, really, don't you?
Tell me about the hats. What's in this year? What's out? What's going on?
I think a bit of coverage for the sun's big.
Yeah.
And anything you like, I guess. It's every colour's in. You know, the pastel's big.
Something bright, something bold, something with attitude.
Something red and in a hat.
Something red, definitely.
And they're off and
racing in the Fosters Melbourne Cup 1994 to an electrifying roar. Down to the 300, Jeune skipped a length and a half in front of Paris Lane. Umpala battling on, and then came Alco, and Jeune has won the Melbourne Cup. Jeune a length and a half, and how easy for him.
If ever a guy deserved to win a race like this, it's Wayne Harris.
12 months ago, what a great story in the Melbourne Cup with Wayne Harris partnering Jeune to victory. Throughout the week, I caught up with the Melbourne Cup winning jockey and asked him what it took to win the big race.
You know, more or less know what's going to go forward in the race, what's going to be in the race. You've got to have some sort of plan who you want to try to get near. You know, there's 3 or 4 jockeys, good jockeys that you know are going to be somewhere around you. And try to follow them and hope they can take you into the race at the right time. Well, you get a bit toey. I think that's where a good jockey comes into it. You've got to have sort of ice running through your veins and be that bit cooler and a bit more calm, because timing's everything. And especially here at Flemington, you only got to go 50 yards too early and you've cost yourself the race. Especially here at Flemington, over 2 miles, you've got to be that bit patient. And I think you've got to put yourself and your horse to sleep for half the race, and only look to come into it from probably after the 1400-1200. Just look to go forward when something's sort of going forward, and a lot of the horses that can't stay will start dropping back after probably the 800, the 600. So you've got to be looking to get around them, or to be looking for a break through the field. So I think that the key to it is going to sleep early in the race. If I could, I'd be settling sort of midfield or somewhere around there if I could, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens on the day. Oh, a lot of luck, a lot of planning, but a lot of luck too. Like last year, things just kept breaking and opening for me, and it was my lucky day. So hopefully this year can be the same again. But I think luck plays a big part of it. But you've got to have the temperament and put your horse in the right place and ride it well, and good planning.
Wayne Harris, whose Mount Jeune will be attempting to join an elite group of Archer, Rain Lover and Think Big as the only horses to win consecutive cups on Tuesday. Let's continue to go through the field now. And number 13 is Gossips. Leon Corsten's the trainer. Alf Matthews takes the ride. He's out wide in barrier 18 at around 40 to 1. And his recent form, he's been thereabouts behind the place getters without really doing too much. 2 starts over 3,200 metres, unplaced at both of them. What do you make of him, Jen?
Well, Pete, I've got to say, he ran in it last year, of course, and he was going quite well at the time. I don't think he's going as well this year. And he's a horse that, well, he normally gets around about midfield in his races. I just don't think that he's got the class to get away with this year's Melbourne Cup.
Gossips ran in the Melbourne Cup last year, so too did this horse, Quick Ransom, the imported galloper, trained by Lee Friedman. Mick Dittman replaces the unlucky Darren Gauci. Barrier 13, lucky for some, round about the 12 to 1 mark. And his recent performances, good second in the Navy Day handicap where he was rattling home, and pretty good effort in the Moonee Valley Cup as well. And 3,200 metres and over, well, there you can see his performances, including a second in the Doncaster Cup. Richard Friedman is with us once again. Last year in the Melbourne Cup, he was the first horse beaten. He was, in fact, gone at the 1,400 metre mark, but he's a different horse this year.
I don't think he travelled too well out here last time, Pete. I think he suffered from the trip. And it's taken us 12 months to get him to some sort of form, and I think he's in the right form at the moment. Just whether he's up to winning a Melbourne Cup, we'll see on Tuesday, but he's in good form and he looks fantastic. People can't really take too much of the fact that Doremus beat him on the track yesterday, because he is a lazy track worker, isn't he? He's a shocking track worker, Quick Ransom. He's an old horse now. He knows that it's only practice, so you know he doesn't really try too hard unless he knows it's race day. Okay, let's go on to number 15, and that is Sir Kingy. And Peter Hutchinson is the rider here. Noel Eels trains this horse at barrier number 10, is not badly off, 50 to 1 chance. And his recent performances, finished third in the Turnbull. That was an excellent run, but then he was down the track in the Geelong Cup. Third in the Crown Quality yesterday, first start over 3,200 metres, Roy.
At his right odds, I think there. He's been thereabouts. He hasn't really set the world alight. And looking at his form, he will be better if there's give in the track. So if there's a bit of rain and you like him, probably that gives you a better chance. Another of Go Waterhouse's runners is number 16, and that is Few Are Chosen. Larry Cassidy will ride at 51.5 kilos, beautifully drawn in barrier 2. 15 to 1 has been
Pretty quietly spoken about throughout the week as a Melbourne Cup chance. Good fifth in the Caulfield Cup, prior to that second in the Quick Ease Stakes. One start over 3,200 metres for a placing in the Brisbane Cup. He might be a horse that not a lot of people have spoken about, Johnny, but I think he might have a chance.
I think Gay was quietly confident with this horse. She didn't mention much about the others, and she's got 4 in the race. And I do think this horse might have a chance in the race from barrier 2, and it's got a nice lightweight, good jockey, Larry Cassidy. I can see it just sitting off the speed, this horse, and well, it's had one run over the journey for a placing, so it's got to be in the race.
All right, well, Johnny, let's caught up with Gay Waterhouse, as he mentioned, speaking to her at the track yesterday, and we'll be talking to her very shortly as well. Number 17 is Yes Indeed, and the rider here is Robbie Cadigan, 51.5 kilos, barrier number 6, and 25 to 1. Now, this horse, the recent performances, the 8th in the Caulfield Cup, 2nd in the Cranmer Cup before